Okay, and welcome everyone. And I'm glad to connect with you all this evening. And I am filling in. Usually Wednesday nights, my lovely wife Dixie gets out here and she teaches, and I really enjoy her teaching. I know you do as well. But tonight I'm going to fill in a little bit, so you have to hear from me today. But I'm excited that you guys are here and join us here tonight on YouTube Live as well as on Zoom. So sit back. Tonight we're going to talk about some really cool things. We're going to talk about diagnostic features of Jezebel. Again, diagnostic features of Jezebel. And I really want to talk about this tonight and get some dialogue from you guys surrounding the topic. There's a lot of talk out there. There's been a lot of talk out there about Jezebel. We have here at this ministry, here at Summers Ministries, we have shown the correlation between a spirit of Jezebel and then the narcissistic personality disorder, more the behavioral component of it, and linked them together. And by doing so, we've been educating, teaching, and training, coaching many people around the world in helping people in relationships, controlling relationships, abusive relationships, Jezebelic relationships, and of course, relationships where there is narcissism involved. Before we get into tonight, I do want to say this, is just because somebody is controlling or perhaps manipulative. So let's just say you're in a relationship and the person you're in a relationship with does have some control. Okay, they're controlling. Perhaps they are manipulative. Perhaps to some degree that they're also abusive. Let's say verbally abusive at times, emotionally abusive at times, whatever that may be. It doesn't always mean that they are a narcissist. You can be narcissistic, but not a narcissist. And again, if you want to look in the DSM, I think there's about 9 different components that one would potentially use to diagnose someone as being narcissistic. So I want to be careful. I think it's irresponsible. I certainly believe it's immature to use the term narcissist, or for that matter, Jezebel, indiscriminately. Okay, we have done a lot of studying in this thing. We understand it, and so I just wanted to just give a word of caution there. Now, that being said, I have found that in many cases, most people are not, and this is known clinically, the percentage of people that are would be diagnosed as a narcissist is pretty low as it pertains to the percentage of the population. Okay. However, one is more than enough, right? What we have found here in helping people, working with men in particular, marriages, relationships between a male and a female, is that there's typically, more often than not, the issue is really a disconnected a male, or an emotionally disconnected man. Okay, that's typically the problems. Now, that being said, again, I'm going to be real clear here that when we talk about Jezebel, we are talking about a gender neutral type spirit. Again, Jezebel is a gender neutral type of spirit. Now, I'm not going to go into tonight where some may be thinking, well, where's this Jezebel thing's made up? It's not in the Bible, and what's in the Bible was thousands and thousands of years ago. And that's fine. If you want to continue to believe that, you can certainly do that. I would caution you, and quite frankly recommend to you, that you go into the Word of God and really study that thing out, and perhaps get some of our resources that are available to help you understand that we are talking about an insidious demonic spirit called Jezebel. And I will say this, Jezebel is not simply a demonic spirit or a demon. Okay. Yes, it does operate in the unseen realm, in the supernatural realm. However, when we talk about Jezebel here, we're referring more to a network, what we refer to as a Jezebel network. Okay. And it is a clustering of demon spirits, evil spirits from the underworld, that is employed to bring havoc into one's life. So when we talk about Jezebel, we talk about narcissism, we're talking about something extremely insidious. Okay. Tonight, we want to educate you a little bit more on the features of Jezebel, or what we would call the diagnostic features of Jezebel. So what are some of them? All right. And again, if you have questions, you can go ahead and put those in the chat box on Zoom. And then I will be looking periodically on YouTube and checking out your questions as well. So one of the things that the spirit of Jezebel that's in operation in a person, and you need to understand that, is Jezebel is a spirit, but that spirit operates in a person or in people. And what that spirit looks for, together with the host, the person, is it looks for, or it seeks out, those with empathy or sympathy. Now, empathy or sympathy in and of themselves is not a bad thing. That's not what I'm saying. But you have to be aware that the spirit of Jezebel will look for those with sympathy or empathy. So the spirit of Jezebel will always gravitate, okay, to those that she, and we refer to it as a she, but it's gender neutral, that she can create an emotional connection with. So there's always going to be some type of emotional connection. I mean, let me pause here for a moment. This is a critical point already. You know, some of you may be in relationships with a person now, or perhaps you were in a relationship previously. And let's just say you found yourself in a position where you compromised. You compromised your kingdom values. You compromised the integrity of the Word of God in your life. And let's just say you became you became emotionally involved with a person, and you ended up having sex. Okay, fornication is what the Word of God calls it. You're not married, but you were drawn into that. The spirit of Jezebel in a person will utilize seductive capability to lure you into that relationship, okay, and actually create, through intimacy or sex, an emotional connection, not simply physical, but an emotional connection, okay? And this is why it's extremely, extremely dangerous that when a man and a woman get together and they're just talking, maybe you start out as friends, whatever, that you watch out for this, because it is many times, it is a ploy, it is a strategy of Jezebel to lure you into her web of destruction, okay? That being said, the spirit will seek out those that are empathetic or sympathetic to her. Again, using that emotional connection, that bond, as it were, that she formed with you. Now, again, I said earlier that empathy or sympathy are not bad things, but and some people say, well, I'm an empathetic person, and that's okay. An empathetic person is someone basically who understands what others are feeling. And the reason they understand what others are feeling is because they themselves typically have experienced it, whatever it is, or they can put themselves in that person's position or situation. So you've heard the statement, well, I've been in your shoes before. Somebody that's been in your shoes before, okay, can have empathy towards that person or to that situation, okay? So again, when we talk about empathy, it's understanding what that person is feeling, okay? And empathy, the word empathy comes from an ancient Greek word that basically means passion, and it's an indication or a view of having a shared feelings, okay? Shared feelings. Now, that being said, I want you to know that this is why when someone is Jezebelic, or someone is bound by a spirit of Jezebel, maybe a family member, maybe somebody you're in a relationship with, okay, maybe you're now grown children, maybe your parents, maybe a leader in the church, okay? But when we talk about sharing feelings, it's extremely important for you to know that you should never share your feelings with a person bound by a spirit of Jezebel. Okay? Because number one, they're looking to get information or intelligence on you so that they can use it in their gaslighting techniques of the narcissist to lure you in and to secure you even more in their supply, in their web. Okay? And again, they look for people that are empathetic. A sympathetic person is someone that, they acknowledges what somebody's going through. Doesn't necessarily mean that they have been through it themselves and have been in that person's shoes, but they acknowledge what that person is going through. Okay, they acknowledge that the emotional needs of that person, and many times what they're doing is they'll provide some type of consolation for that person, whatever. So now sympathy again is it means to be with somebody or to be together with. So when I sympathize with something or someone, I'm together with it. Let me say this. You cannot afford to be a sympathizer to Jezebel or with Jezebel. You can't see. This is why people tolerate the spirit of Jezebel, because many times what they do is they sympathize, or they have sympathy for the person, their story, who is harboring the spirit of Jezebel. Now, Jezebel's going to exploit this as a weakness in your life, right? Okay, that and again, I don't have the time to tell you how many people I've talked to where they have been sympathetic or empathetic towards a person's situation and then came to the aid of that person, okay, connected with that person, bound with that person emotionally, and in many cases even looked to fix that person. And I'm telling you, it worked out really, really bad, of course, because the person bound by the spirit of Jezebel simply used that as to the spirit's advantage, or to the narcissist's advantage. Okay, so sympathy, empathy, again, good to have. It just needs to be managed, and you certainly don't want to have that with someone who is bound by a spirit of Jezebel. Now, sympathy and empathy are not mutually exclusive, nor are they always felt. You don't feel those things together. Okay, so for example, somebody who loses a loved one, they can receive sympathy from a lot of people. But if the person who's given sympathy hasn't experienced the loss of a loved one, they are going to have a pretty hard time empathizing with that person. Okay. So again, I just want to be real clear, empathy, sympathy, not a bad thing. Okay. But you can be, for example, with empathy, you can be overly empathetic. Okay. And if you're overly empathetic, so if you're in a relationship and you're overly empathetic about a person that you're in a relationship with, you can become extremely overwhelmed or frustrated by the negativity and unstable emotions that the host displays that's bound by the Jezebel. Okay, you got that? Okay, so again, empathy, sympathy, a diagnostic feature of someone bound by a spirit that's not the diagnostic feature, but one of the diagnostic features is that's who they seek out. Okay, people that are empathetic, people that are sympathetic, again, very dangerous, and it could be a gateway, or it can be a porthole for Jezebel to really begin to open up the line of communication, okay, between the Jezebel and its targets, or in many cases, its followers, or its servants in its bedchamber. Now, if you don't understand some of this talk or some of this language that I'm using, again, I would recommend that you get our books on Jezebel. I would highly recommend the Jezebel trilogy, 3 books for only $30. Okay, which is, today that's an awesome price. 3 books for $30, and we talk about the different components of Jezebel, and then of course how to be free. Okay, so all right, well, let me just see here. Let me take a peek. We'll give YouTube a peek first and kind of see what's going on here. All right. Well, a lot of people out there. First off, how are you guys doing today? Let's have some fun. I believe narcissists are Jezebel in human bodies. I guess that's a way of saying it. Okay. That person doesn't exist. Yeah. I've heard people, Harriet. I've heard people say that the person does not exist. I get what they're saying. I mean, obviously the person does exist. What we need to understand is that when somebody's bound by a spirit of Jezebel, and hopefully I can get to this point, but one of the issues is their identity. They don't even know who they are. So, and they create a mask. Remember, in the Word of God, we see Jezebel painted her face. One of the other features, a diagnostic feature of Jezebel, is to paint that face, to create an illusion of being something that it's not. And there's a reason for that. Remember, a narcissist or a Jezebelically bound person is one who is extremely volatile, tremendously wounded, and in most cases came from a life of tremendous amount of shame. And what they need to do in order to continue in some form of life is they create a pseudo identity. Okay, so again, to your point, do they exist, not exist? Well, they exist, but the real self has been hidden by the narcissistic and Jezebelian features. Okay, all right. Does the Jezebel spirit often attack the prophet, prophetess almost at first sight? I mean, the Jezebel spirit is not unique to only prophets or the prophetic or a prophetess or whatever title one has. The spirit of Jezebel understands and works very well within prophetic ministry, because Jezebel, if you look at Jezebel, she had her own prophets, right? The prophets of Jezebel. And she likes the prophetic because she wants to get the voice. She wants to be a voice piece. And she wants to counter what God is saying with her own words of deception and trickery. Okay. So to answer your question, does that spirit attack immediately prophets or prophetic people? I mean, it's going to, yeah. Is it unique only to that? No. But yes, it will look to attack the prophetic. And when I say attack prophetic, not only try to stop or hinder or block a pure prophetic, but actually the bigger thing or the bigger strategy is to embed itself in the prophetic ministry. This is why in my books, one of the things I said is it's very dangerous to release prophetic declarations, decrees, and words in an environment that is highly toxic with witchcraft. This is why we see a lot of religious churches, controlling, manipulative, dominating religious churches who do say or do operate in the prophetic. Okay, there's a lot of confusion, a lot of sickness, a lot of stress, a lot of chaos, a lot of stuff, premature death. Okay, tremendous amount of sickness, pain in the body, inflammation. I mean, there's a host of different things because they're also operating in witchcraft because they're controlling churches. Okay, so when you have those two features together, it's a recipe for disaster. Okay. Does the narcissistic personality disorder always or most likely come from childhood trauma? Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. All right. So let's go back. Okay. So and let me take a quick peek and zoom in. No questions or comments there yet. Okay. And I want to make sure that I check for those hands because I know those hands can go up, and I want to make sure I get to your when you have your hands up. Okay, nothing yet. Okay, good. Okay. Another thing is another diagnostic feature of Jezebel is that Jezebel looks to recruit others. So this can be and you can certainly see this in a church setting. Okay, Jezebel recruits others in their attack against their victims. Okay, so what they want to do is they want to persuade recruits. They recruit people to come into or come onto their side. So one of the ways that what they do is they draw on compassion okay? But it's a false compassion to win support for that person who's bound by a spirit of Jezebel, okay? So they will actually look to use charm, they'll use pity to persuade people to actually come into their camp. They'll get people to think that they're for you, okay? They want to win you over. And you'll see this where they'll use even gender differences to win over Ahab men, okay, to subscribe to their point of view. So if a man, and again, Jezebel is not unique to women, okay, but if a man is, or a woman is Ahabic in nature, or an Ahab type person, a very passive person, doesn't operate in discernment, doesn't have boundaries in their life, one of the things that is going to happen is this Jezebel spirit is going to look to recruit Ahab type people into its web of destruction. Okay. Another diagnostic feature of a Jezebel, and again, correlate that with narcissism, is highly critical, extremely critical. They're extremely critical of others. So you have to watch this. Now, I'm not talking about people that engage in healthy conflict. Okay. There's nothing wrong with conflict, and there's certainly nothing wrong with healthy conflict. Okay. Conflict not handled appropriately can be very, very toxic and dangerous. But I'm talking, but again, healthy conflict is good. But this Jezebel will look to criticize people, not have conflict. Criticize, okay, to the point where they're actually like a sucking leech, a bloodthirsty leech that attacks and attacks and attacks and criticizes virtually everything that you do. To the Jezebel spirit and its subsequent host, narcissistic host, you can do virtually nothing right. Okay. Even if you do something like make a nice dinner, they will always need to find something that they can criticize. It's weird, it's morbid, it's insidious, in so much that they would even borderline compliment you, but only to take you down. In other words, compliment, this is all part of the push-pull tactic of a narcissist. And that is this: I build you up just a tad, but I'm going to suck it right from you. I'm going to get you to think that somehow I'm connected with you, I love you, I'm there for you, I want you and relate, whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, I'll suck it right from you. Because remember, to a Jezebel narcissist, there can only be one. They do not share anything positive or good or anything that would be considered praiseworthy with any person. So they are highly critical. Another diagnostic feature of Jezebel. However, on the counter of that, they are highly intolerant of criticism. Okay, so if you criticize someone who's bound by a spirit of Jezebel, or someone who is, behaving or acting out narcissistic characteristics, okay, because of a Jezebel spirit, they will be highly reactive to any criticism towards them. So anything that they either assume or interpret as negative criticism, anything negative where you're evaluating their personality or their ability or their performance, okay, it's not going to work out well. They will become highly venomous, okay? And again, they're totally intolerant. They will look to shut that down immediately. You hear me? Immediately, okay? They're never going to admit, listen, a person bound by a spirit of Jezebel is never going to admit any area of vulnerability. They're not going to admit any type of deficiency, okay? And even, excuse me, even if it even got close to that, where there was something there, they would create some type of illusion. They will falsify any type of fact or evidence that is presented to them that would justify any type of criticism, or for that, or for lack of another word, even correction. Okay. All right. Let me see here. We got. I can see on my screen like just an amazing amount of chats. I'll never get to all these. I mean, I don't know, dozens upon dozens. Is it common for a person with the Jezebel spirit to be extremely accusatory and have fits of rage, then shift blame? Of course, absolutely, without question. Okay. Chantel, how you doing? Thanks for checking us out and for discovering this page. All right, here. My husband is involved with a Jezebel. Okay, this should be good. My husband is involved with the Jezebel for almost 6 months, and he's always angry. Yeah, he has become angry towards me and controlling, and he is critical also. Pick. I'm indifferent. Yeah, I mean, well, there you go. Interesting. He's involved with a Jezebel. That's a topic for another day. But yeah, interesting. Okay. Okay. We'll move on. Okay. Another thing. Some more diagnostic? Come on, let's get you some more diagnostic features. By the way, you guys should be writing this stuff down, right? Okay. Write this stuff down. You want to learn. You want to educate. You don't want to be suspicious. You don't want to be paranoid. You don't want to point, Jezebel, narcissist. But you want to be educated. That's what we do. That's why we do what we do. Educate people. Okay. Let's not be ignorant of the devil's devices. That's why we're giving you diagnostic features of Jezebel. Another one. What do? They lie, right? Jezebel's lie. Spirit of Jezebel is a tremendously huge liar. Okay. They lie. And not only do they lie about things, but they lie about themselves, and they believe their own lie. Okay. So they avoid the truth. I mean, if they can't manipulate the truth, they'll just avoid the truth. Okay. And they're constantly creating pictures. Remember, the painted face, masquerades. The spirit of Jezebel is always looking, you guys, come on, it's always looking to create some type of illusion that you will believe. The reason you believe it is because, again, there's some emotional connection to that person that is bound by a spirit of Jezebel. So your sympathy or your empathy, ungoverned by the Word of God and Holy Spirit, is going to be used against you to lure you in. They will, again, create a false picture, and that false picture, once you're in bed with that, as it were, the amount of lies are going to be off the charts. And any truth you present to that person who's bound by this spirit, okay, is going to be completely avoided, completely unraveled, put back together, and it's going to be a complete mess. I'll talk about this a little bit more in a second, but I do want to add this as well to the diagnostic feature of lying, is that they're extremely delusional. They have gone down, matter of fact, their entire pseudo-identity has been built on self-deception, okay? And they believe their own self-deception in so much that they become extremely delusional. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But again, they lie. They avoid the truth. They withhold the truth. And again, they create a false picture to present their life to others. So their whole life, for lack of saying it another way, their whole life is a lie. Okay? And lying is a necessary component of somebody who's bound by a spirit of Jezebel. They have to do it. Because why? Because if they make a mistake, which they will, or they, do something highly toxic or hurtful to others, they're going to protect themselves in all shapes and sizes. They're going to do everything they can and deflect. So this goes back to the one person's comment. What they're going to do is they're going to shift and they're going to cast blame elsewhere. So you're never going to find them out, or you can. I'm not going to say you never will. You just have to understand what you're doing. Because they're always going to try to shift. They're always going to blame shift. Okay. All right, another, as you guys, and talk among yourself, this is good. I see tremendous amount of comments out there. And by the way, on YouTube, please, hey, share this video. Tell your friends, hey, check this out. And we'll put it up later. Come back, subscribe to the channel, let your friends know we got something going here, and you're a big part of it. Another diagnostic feature of Jezebel is irresponsible, aren't they? Now, this goes to all of you that are in relationships with someone that is potentially bound by a spirit of Jezebel. This could be mom and dad. This could be sister or brother. This could be your now grown children. Okay. This could be your husband. This could be your wife, or this could be your boyfriend or girlfriend or whoever. Highly irresponsible. Okay. They're almost incapable of having any type of responsibility. Okay. They could be a mother and have children and completely disregard children. Okay. Have absolutely no responsibility and look to cast their responsibility onto you. That's right, I'm talking about you. They cast that responsibility on you, okay, for their own behavior. So they're never going to say that, yeah, my behavior is poor, my choices were not good, I need help, I'm wounded, I'm hurt. They're not going to say that in most cases, okay? There has to be enough pain in their life for them to say that. And we'll talk about that some other day. But they're never going to go through the process of deliverance until it becomes painful enough. So every time you look to save or rescue a narcissistic Jezebelian from their irresponsibility, you are contributing to the delinquency of a narc. You are contributing to the insidious tactics of a Jezebel spirit. You are essentially forming alliance and allegiance. You're doing her bidding. Okay. So again, you have to watch out for that diagnostic feature of irresponsibility of the person who's bound by Jezebel. Okay. All right. Let's see here. YouTube again. Let me just see if there's any. Put that over there so I could see. Okay, good. Gaslighting is common too. Absolutely, absolutely. My narcissistic husband has, and believe everything wrong. Oh yeah, okay. All right, yeah, right. Okay, so you're talking among yourself. Good. All right, another thing. All right. Now this goes back to delusion. They're delusional, right? Okay. They simply deny what they are. Okay, so the Jezebel spirit in a person, that spirit, again, separate the person from the spirit. The narcissism is a behavior, okay, that stems typically from trauma or in early childhood. That opened the door for the spirit of Jezebel to bind the person and, of course, get them to go and pull others down a rabbit hole. But they're highly delusional. They deny what they are. They don't conform to any social normalcy, right? They essentially have their own way. You know this. You talk to them. You look at them like, you give them a look like, huh? What? It doesn't make sense. Okay. They have their own ways about them. They're never wrong. Okay. Now, they deny who they are. Again, you can tell somebody, you know, you're that was controlling, that was manipulative, that, you know, you're hurt, you're wounded. The denial is again off the charts. Denial is really the first step, this first stage into ultimately becoming just outright deceptive or self-deceptive. Okay, self-deception, and then of course that's going to go to delusion. So they begin to believe that there's something that they're not. And when you're connected to a person like that, you need to understand they need help quick. I would recommend, again, coaching. We love it. It helps. For those of you that believe that once a narc, always a narc, or if you're in a relationship with somebody who is narcissistic, which again, most people say, oh, my husband or oh, my wife or oh, whoever is a narcissist. Well, first off, are you really qualified to diagnose that? Number one. You're probably misdiagnosing it. Okay, 90% of the chance I'm going to say you're misdiagnosing it. What you are finding, though, is you're finding a spirit of Jezebel that has a person operating with some type of narcissistic behavior. So I get it, but I would recommend coaching. They can be healed. They can change their life if they want it. If they want it. Now, if they don't want it because of delusion, the self-deception, and everything that they do is so deep, and the wound is so deep, and they have a tremendous protection layer about them, maybe not. Okay? But never say never. With God, all things are possible. Okay? All right, another diagnostic feature. A person bound by a spirit of Jezebel is never wrong. Jezebel's never wrong. Okay? That spirit's never going to admit that she's wrong for what that spirit has done or what that person has done. Remember, there's an artificial image. There's a pseudo personality, that there's a strong view of self that is highly toxic, that needs to be fortified. Because if that's stripped away, remember, a narcissist, in a person who has been susceptible to or overtaken, as it were, by a spirit of Jezebel, most likely, listen to me, I'm going to do another video on this, but they were birthed in, they came from a tremendous amount of shame. Okay, tremendous amount of shame. So again, they're never going to admit that they're wrong, because if they admit they're wrong, or they admit that they feel shameful about themselves, their entire world implodes that they've created, this pseudo-identity. Pseudo-identity is there to protect the person from the emotional damage that was most likely created, okay, or transpired through the family of origin, as well as, and again, that could be rejection, molestation, incest, verbal abuse, or physical abuse and emotional abuse. You could throw that in there as well. Okay, most of it comes there, and then of course that's considered trauma. Now, if you put on other things that happen, like they witness something, some other type of event, all of that, maybe a mother or a father that's controlling or abusive, or addicted to drugs, or the list can go on and on and on. They became emotionally wounded. That hurt in their life has to be dealt some way. So what do? There's two paths you go down, right? Passive aggressive, or we like to call it narcissistic or codependent. Okay? The genesis of the issue is typically all the same. Okay? So again, if you don't understand it, call us, set up an appointment with us. We'll teach you, we'll show you how, or go to our website and start taking some courses on this thing. Okay? Let me, before I go to the next one, I'm going to take a quick peek over here. Is it common for them to play the victim? Yes, absolutely. They're good at playing the victim. Yes. Gaslighting is common. Yes. Okay. Somebody said I give up. Never give up. Why are you giving up? Shouldn't give up. You're the head and not the tail. Okay. All right. Diagnostic features of Jezebel. Watch this. Person bound by a spirit of Jezebel, who is narcissistic or can be narcissistic, has a low self-esteem. Now, you may have dropped your glass of soda or your water, whatever, on that statement. Wait a minute. That kind of goes contrary to the whole thing about a narcissist has a grandiose view, of self. They think that they're all that in a bag of chips, highly prideful, arrogant, pompous, whatever. True, but a person bound by a spirit of Jezebel does have, in many cases, a low self-esteem. Okay, all right. So they're always trying to, remember, they're always trying to cover up that low self-esteem. They're trying to prove themselves, okay, to others, to other people, okay, And they're trying to prove to themselves, to that inner wounded child, that they're okay. Okay? So they have a tremendous amount of low self-esteem that came from that shame that I was referring to. Okay? Now, that topic of shame and Jezebel is a huge topic. Okay, we'll do it another day, but you need to understand that it's called shame-based narcissism. Okay? In many cases, the shame is so great that they have in the inferiority, the insecurity is so great. Again, they create this pseudo identity. Okay. Another diagnostic feature: self-righteous and defensive. All right, here we go. So think about the person that you believe is bound by a spirit of Jezebel or displays narcissistic characteristics. Self-righteous and defensive. So they're always in protection mode. They have to protect their fragile ego. They have to protect their pseudo identity. So their defense mechanism is always up. This is why they can trigger real quick. Now, a codependent can trigger very quick also, but typically one who's being bound by a spirit of Jezebel. And by the way, don't always think a Jezebel spirit is only in operation in a narc. A Jezebel spirit can be, and in many times is, in complete operation with a codependent type of person. Okay? Remember, it's a network, and it employs a cluster of demonic principalities, okay, and powers to bring down somebody's life. It doesn't necessarily care how it does it. It just needs to do it. Okay? So again, when we talk about Jezebel, don't think, oh, Jezebel, narcissism, codependent Ahab. Yes, those correlations can easily be seen. But the sophistication and the intelligence level of this demon operates in so much that it can move and shift as much as it wants. It is indeed a shape-shifting type spirit. So this Jezebel spirit can have somebody become self-righteous and defensive. That could be both the codependent and or the narcissist. So you'll find in triggering that a codependent can trigger just like a narcissist. Okay. And this is why you can have a tremendous amount of battling going on and so on. But back to this, a person bound by Jezebel has basically, that person needs to protect their extremely fragile and volatile ego. Okay, through that defense mechanism. Okay, and they'll like I said earlier, they'll overreact. They'll definitely react to any type of criticism. Okay, anything that questions them, anything that challenges their competency level, that protection mechanism is going to fire away, and bam, they're going to go ahead and they're going to attack. Okay. Now, if you're married or in a relationship to somebody who's like this, this is probably why you find it so hard to work with that person, especially in areas surrounding conflict. Okay. Because again, they're self-righteous and defensive. So when there is any point of contention or any type of conflict, okay, again, their self-protective mechanism is going to activate, okay, and they're going to protect. So basically what happens is the demon, Jezebel, has the person, the host, protecting the spirit. And it uses, hear me clearly, it uses narcissistic personality disorder or the behaviors to protect the demon. You got that? I'll say it again. Jezebel's in operation spiritually, unseen realm, okay? It's a spirit. It has a tremendous formula, strategy to keep the person, in this case, you would say a narcissist, in a tremendous amount of bondage because they want to kill them. And they want them to do their Jezebel's bidding to destroy other people through toxic relationships, okay? What happens is, if you start to contend with it or challenge it or again, have conflict with the person that's harboring that spirit, the spirit is able to, because it works in connection with the mind and the emotional arena, that person will trigger, and the triggering or the attack or the blame against you is designed to keep you from getting to the demon or the spirit. You got it? Hopefully I explained that good enough to where you can understand it. So at the end of the day, the issue is not really the narcissistic personality. It is, but the real issue is the demon that has to be dealt with. Okay? Jezebel does not want to be found out. Okay? So everybody's pointing to narcissism. Yeah, obviously. But who's talking about the demon? Well, that's what we do. Okay? And this is why people come to us, to get help. Okay? All right. Let me see here. I've seen Jezebel spirits inject venom. Yep. Slanders. Yes, my husband does that to me. Okay, you guys are talking about yourself. Good. All right. Okay, so again, self-righteous, defensive. Let me give you another feature. You've probably seen this. The person bound by the spirit of Jezebel will react to any view that you have or anybody else has that is contrary to their beliefs with anger or rage. Now this goes, I saw the word anger come up quite a bit, okay? And angry outbursts, okay, just like emotional, angry or anger releasing, rage, highly aggressive anger, okay? Highly aggressive anger, retaliation, sarcasm, all of that stuff. These angry outbursts that are out of control, childlike in nature, are almost intrinsic to a Jezebelian narcissist. Okay? You could even bring in borderline personality disorder with that, but a narcissist or a Jezebel will just have a complete rage with anything that goes against what they're saying. So you can say it's pink, they're going to say it's red, you will be attacked for saying it's pink. Anything that goes contrary to their view, to their opinion, what they think, okay? And again, this is many times, so-called narcissistic rage, okay? They become highly emotional. The host becomes highly emotional. Okay. And again, it's because you're getting too close. So and I say this because it's not unique just to narcissists, the codependent as well. I work with a lot of codependent people that come that are codependent. And they're saying, no, my narcissistic husband, my narcissistic wife, my narcissistic mother, whatever, Jezebel, and all the other stuff. But even that codependent, because Jezebel is still in operation in the codependent, can explode with rage, anger, okay? Anger. I've seen it happen just on YouTube. I can say something and look, and people will just start manifesting in their comments, just blowing up in their rage. Why? Because you have to understand Jezebel is at work, okay? All right. Give you a couple more before we conclude tonight. So another diagnostic feature of somebody who is bound by, under the influence of Jezebel and has narcissistic behaviors is they absolutely are not going to respect your boundaries. Okay? So again, when you talk about a narcissist, they don't know, there's an old saying, right? That a narcissist doesn't know where they end and another person begins. In other words, they're always trying to project, okay, everything about them and themselves included into you, okay? So remember, controlling Jezebel, a narc, okay, you're the victim. You're the victim. You're in Jezebel's web of seduction. And to the narcissist, you are their supply to support their identity. So your boundaries are irrelevant. Your no's are irrelevant. Doesn't mean you need to say, well, forget it. I mean, why am I saying no? No, it has its place. And of course, boundaries are important. But boundaries are only important in work when there are consequences to the violation of boundaries. And many times when people are empathetic, goes back to our first one, empathetic or sympathetic to a person bound by Jezebel, they'll have boundaries. The people tell me all the time, oh, I got boundaries. But they will never, ever deploy a consequence once the Jezebelian breaks or basically just blows through the boundary. Okay. The codependent typically goes and what? Runs into their cave, hides, isolates, gets depressed, or whatever. So they're angry, but their anger becomes extremely passive. Okay. So again, your boundaries, which you should have, are just not going to be one of the features of a Jezebel. Is they're just not going to, hey, don't call me past midnight. Phone rings. They're going to call you. Okay. Don't come over here anymore. They're going to blow past that. Okay. Don't give me my key back. Never give you feedback. Whatever it may be. Okay. Everybody has their own unique situation. I got that. Okay. But again, they will blow through boundaries. Another diagnostic feature is they're sneaky. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. They are sneaky. They're able to fool you. They're able to recruit you or recruit others around you. They're so sneaky that they actually they use their sneakiness to gather people to them to support them so that everybody can stomp on you, right? So that everybody can gang up on you. Have you ever felt like your whole family or all your friends or your church members or whoever, have you ever felt that everybody's ganging up on you? Okay. Now, I'm not talking about perhaps you are dealing with some phobia or fear. Okay. Maybe you're bound by rejection, perhaps. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about where everybody's ganging up on you. It's because why? Because many times this narcissistic, Jezebelian spirit becomes extremely sneaky and it can fool people. Okay. And they do it many times through charm, through charisma. Okay. I mean, boy, if I had $100 for everybody said that everybody loves him or everybody loves her, everybody says the most wonderful things about them. But deep inside, they are raging wolves. Okay. Why? Because they're awesome stage actors, right? So another diagnostic feature of a Jezebel is that they are tremendous stage actors, wonderful theatrical performers. As a matter of fact, to somebody bound by Jezebel spirit and has narcissistic characteristics, they are going to create an illusion. They are going to essentially create a theatrical performance worthy of an Academy Award at that. They will make everything appear a certain way. Why? Because in their movie, in their script, in their pseudo personality, they themselves must be the good guy and everybody else around them the bad guy. So when you talk to them, they will always make it appear, right? They will make it appear as though they're the victim. I'm being attacked. Why are they doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? And not only that, they will counter label, meaning that they will be quick to demonize other people. So they themselves, this Jezebel spirit in the host, will get the host to believe that they are being attacked, and then the host will call somebody else, you, a Jezebel. So it's flipping the script, right? Why? Because they cannot be the bad person, okay? They cannot be the bad person. All right, got time for maybe one or two more. Another diagnostic feature is what? They blame others. They will always blame others. They blame others for their failures, okay? The reason they can't make it, the reason they're not moving forward in life, the reason the marriage is messed up, the reason we can't communicate, the reason why? It's all you. I have nothing to do with it. I am the innocent victim, right? Okay. So they're always blaming people. Okay. And again, it could be a spouse. Okay. It could be a church leader. Okay. Doesn't matter. And they could complain about everything. They complain, they blame. Okay. So you have to watch out for that. Okay. You have to watch out for the blame. You, again, don't accept blame. I want you to hear me again. Never accept blame. I don't accept, there's a couple things I don't accept in life. Number one, I don't accept blame. And number two, I do not accept criticism. Now, you may be thinking right now, who does he think he is? He's saying he's blameless. Yeah, well, according to the word of God, because I do read that, it does say that I am blameless. Now, it doesn't say I'm not responsible. I am, but I am blameless. So let me just give you some heads up on that. So when anybody blames you, oh, it's your fault, you did this. Anybody criticize you, some people, oh, well, what if it's constructive criticism? Really? You want to go there? Constructive criticism? Construct, build up, critique, tear down. What are we? Bipolar? Okay, up and down, all over the place, double-minded, schizophrenic, what do you want to call that? No, we don't accept criticism. God does not criticize his people. He corrects those whom he loves. He does not criticize us. So again, that's just a few things. We're running out of time here. Let me see. Boy, so many. Goodness, there's literally has to be 100 to 200 comments here. I'm not going to get through all this. Let me see if I find anything interesting. It's exhausting and draining dealing with them. If you don't know, it's a Jezebel spirit. Yeah, who is that? Name is Beautiful Hummingbird, I think. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Very, very exhausting. And you're 100% right if you don't know what you're doing. So again, I want to caution, please do not become paranoid. Don't look for Jezebel everywhere you go. Let's not go there. Suspicion and all that stuff. Let's not think because somebody has some bad behaviors that they're a Jezebel, whatever. But at the same time, let's keep some balance here. Let's learn about this thing. This is why we teach the way we do, what we do. It's why we have the books on it. It's why we have a deliverance ministry course where you can receive your certification from this ministry to be a deliverance minister. Just go to website Summers Ministries for that. Books, same website. And of course, coaching. Everybody needs coaching. You will love coaching. If you're not investing in some type of coaching for your life, my question is, what investment are you making in your life? Okay, stop going to these dead churches that are feeding you a bunch of garbage and not helping you. We're teaching you about life so that you can reach your full potential. Okay. Jezebel attacks your ability to think and concentrate, or does it? Can it? Yes, absolutely, without question, because it's a spirit of witchcraft. Remember, so Jezebel was birthed. That spirit was, or not that spirit, but that person, Queen Jezebel, was birthed out of witchcraft. Okay, and of course that spirit uses witchcraft. As a matter of fact, when Jehu came, he said I think it was Jezebel's son or something like that, said, do you come in peace? And Jehu said, how could there be peace as long as your mother Jezebel, whose witchcrafts are many, is still in power? So there's no peace when Jezebel is in operation, and the witchcraft is unprecedented. And witchcraft, of course, typically is, control, manipulation, intimidation, domination, mind control type demons. Many times we refer to them as squid type demons that really put pressure on your mind and, all that, migraines and stuff like that. So again, this is deep stuff, but it can be discussed and it can be learned, but it takes time. Okay. Yeah. Insomnia, stomach aches. Yeah. All that stuff goes with it. And it's in our book. Okay. It's in the book, all the different manifestations, all the different physical things that happen, and not just the physical things that happen while you're connected to this relationship, this Jezebelian relationship or person that is bound by Jezebel, but also aftershock of when you deal with that component, how the retaliation becomes. I mean, it's just huge. So again, I feel called to be deliverance minister. Well, good. We need about 10 million of them right now, to be honest with you. There's a shortage of good quality deliverance ministers. I'm not talking about witch hunters or, some people call themselves demon hunters. This isn't cartoons, guys. This isn't Hollywood. Okay. This isn't some game. These are real lives that we're talking about. So, okay, here we go. Summers Ministries. How can I break soul ties connection with Jezebel? No contact is not enough. Yeah, no contact is going to deal with the personality. It's going to deal with the emotional, the behavior, the more natural components here. And it's very important that you do that. But the spiritual dynamics of it, the soul ties, the yoking up with it, yeah, that's going to require you to go through some deliverance. But more importantly, I mean, we can give you the tools. We can tell you how to do that. But the real issue is how did these soul ties even come to play? If you don't know how the soul ties came to play, most of the time people go right back to the same situation. So we'd like to perhaps maybe get you in our coaching program for a few weeks and help you out there. If not, can't do that. I always say, get our books, get the trilogy. That'll help you out and go from there. Okay. This demon seems unstoppable. No, it's not. No, this is extremely stoppable. It has no power. It has zero power other than the power we give it. Okay. Remember, the enemy roams seeking whom he may devour. Doesn't mean he can just club you over the head and do it. There has to be, that's why we talk about gates and openings, right? Find the gate, find the opening, okay? Dissect your life, look at what happened, understand the dynamics of spiritual and behavioral, or spiritual and emotional, the mind. Beating this thing is, if you understand what you're doing, it becomes easy. But again, this is not taught in church. Okay. All righty. Yeah, breaking soul that's confess, repent, renounce. Yeah, again, absolutely. And even more to that, and that's in our book, Throw Jezebel Down. However, again, you have to understand the gates and the doors. If you don't, you're going to normalize current behavior that could be dysfunctional, and therefore you normalize dysfunction. It's why we say the dog goes back to its vomit, right? All right, Arizona. Yeah, Arizona Deliverance Center in Phoenix offers deliverance services live every Friday night. Yeah, know all about them. Yep, absolutely. Okay, all right. I think that's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed it tonight. Okay, give a thumbs up on YouTube, give that, or a high five, whatever. I'll try to high five you, give it a thumbs up. If you enjoyed this, also, we certainly need your support. You can, if you're on YouTube, you can click that little $ down there. That's a super chat button. Sow a seed of any amount. We need your support, or just go to website summersministries.com and sow a seed of support, whatever Holy Spirit puts on you. If you got something from this, hey, pay it forward. Let's get this thing going so that we can help other people. So again, God bless you on YouTube. God bless you on Zoom. We look forward to seeing you on Sunday for our online time of equipping. Until that next time, God bless you. Walk in dominion, walk in authority, and we'll see you next time. All right. God bless you. Bye-bye now.